There's no shortage of headlines coming out of Washington with the special investigation of the 2016 election and a chaotic foreign policy making the most news. We spoke with Arizona Congressman Tom O'Halloran about the current state of things in D.C. Thanks for joining us on Arizona Horizon. Good to have you here.
It's great being here. I like being back.
All right, sounds good. The mood on Capitol Hill right now, what's it like? What's going on back there?
Well, it's a little disruptive. People don't have a real sense of the direction right now. I think a lot of people were concerned a lot more early on than they are now. But because of the makeup of the House, we're all getting to know one another. You know, there's 50 new members, there's a new president, there's this turmoil in the process. But now we're starting to be able to filter some of the stuff out and get down to addressing issues. But sadly, it's an election year, and of course, I find out that they don't work very much in an election year, which, I don't think we work enough anyway. You hear this thing about, well, we're just not going to be able to address that this year because we don't have enough time. We're there 120 days.
Yeah.
We can be there 200 days and create the time. But, the issues are just it's about politics and getting back to the district. And we can do the district 1 week a month still and still get a full-time job in.
It feels from a distance that on Capitol Hill, there is just a sense of disarray, that Congress doesn't even know what the other side is doing and has no clue as to what the president is up to. Is that accurate?
Well, I think everybody has a concern about what's coming out in the morning. I think everybody has, nobody has ever seen this before. There's usually a process there and anywhere. I mean, if I'm going to put out a press release, there's 3 people that see that before I see the final version and approve it. There's nothing that goes out without, okay, where's this plan? What's the reason for the press release? What are the issues that we're going to impact if what I say? So no, that's a process nobody's used to.
I was going to say, it leads to what some would describe as chaos. And yet, is that chaos, in a weird way, paying off when it comes to foreign affairs? You look at what's happening in Syria, you look at North and South Korea finally getting together after all this time, and the president meeting with North Korean leaders. Does that happen if you don't have almost a sense of uncertainty and a lack of balance coming out of Washington?
Well, in Syria, I don't think things are coming together at all. I mean, the Russians, the Turks, and the Syrians have one plan. The United States has another plan for the eastern part of the nation, and the Kurds are, so everybody's doing their own piece of it. And now there's a new group up in the north western side of the country that is rejuvenating the whole process of terrorism. And so that state is a real issue long-term for America and the rest of the world.
And yet the president, though, says that things are turning there, that he claims credit for defeating ISIS. And we just had an airstrike on suspected chemical-making compounds over there. I mean, he sees success. He sees forward movement. You don't. Well,
I think that taking over some of these towns in the eastern area, Russia's taking over some of the other towns. There's obviously ISIS is on the run. But that was taking place, came on board. He added to that process. My hats off to him for forcing the issue a little bit stronger. I'm on the Armed Services Committee, so I get to see what's going on there, and I'm fairly happy with where we're at, but we have to find a strategy for the entire area, not just piece by piece, city by city. We have to have a longer-term vision of what the complex nature of what's going on there, how the long-term impacts to Israel are going to be, Jordan, the rest of those countries.
How about the activities in North Korea? South Korea and North Korea getting together here. Again, President going over there for a meeting. Your thoughts?
Well, anytime you meet, I think it's a good idea. As long as it's well thought out, as long as there's a strategy going into the meeting, and it's not ad-libbed as we're in the meeting. We've been here before with North Korea, time and time again. The only difference is we actually have a president that's going to meet. But, they've promised before that they'll stop doing testing. They've promised before that they won't do the missiles. All that's been promised before. And they've said they will stop it. And now they've promised again. And it's going to be, they've laid their cards on the table, and they've also said, we're not going to give up our nukes.
Within that respect, do you think there's a possibility that the president, that the U.S. could be getting taken? You know, could this be a little bit of a jiu-jitsu going on here, that we're not going to come out of this on the advantage?
I hope that's not the case. I think that you never know until you get in. It's like somebody, you know, who's going to win the fight? Well, the person that has the best punches that night. And who's going to identify this process and come out a winner? I hope the world comes out a winner, and that these two countries can get to the point where we don't have to rely so much on fear that we're relying on trust.
The Mueller probe. Critics say that it's gone on too long and it's gone too far afield of its say this. Do they have a point?
I'm a former investigator, so I believe that everybody should calm down a little bit, let the investigation be completed, and find out what the real facts are. We don't know what the real facts are. The only people that might know are the people that are doing the investigation. And I have faith in that process. Is
the investigation losing momentum with the American public because nothing tangible, certainly nothing against the president personally, has so far popped up? We've had indictments, we've had a lot of interesting scenarios, but as far as the president's concerned, he says no collusion, he says nothing has ever gone wrong here, and so far he's still in office and he's still not facing any charges of any kind.
Well, these are serious matters. I mean, I wouldn't go to a suspect's door, knock on the door and say, in a week and a half I'm going to arrest you. You know, This is the same process. They're going to allow this process to move along, gather the information necessary, and I think anybody that speaks against the FBI or some of the other investigative processes, I mean, this should be something that leaders should not try to stir up the pot. They should allow the people to do their job, come together. It's going to help unify the nation. It's not going to help tear it apart.
The president is stirring that pot and then some. He's going after justice. He's going after the FBI. He's going after the special prosecutor. He's calling it a witch hunt.
He must know something that the investigators don't know. I don't think that any investigator is going to want to keep running around the table and not being able to come to a conclusion. They go by what evidence is put before them.
And most of Congress feel that same way, you think?
Well, obviously we have a lot of Congress people that are on both sides. Some of them are saying impeach, and others are saying, you know, this is a witch hunt. It's neither one until we have the evidence. And a good investigator doesn't go out and say, here's the evidence I'm looking for.
Last question. When you
the evidence I'm
or congressional district, what are their concerns? What do they worry about?
Not this.
Interesting.
It's jobs, jobs, and jobs. How are they, you know, you sit around the kitchen table and you say, how are we going to meet our bills? Where are we going to send our kids to school? How are they going to have a good future? That's what people in rural America and urban areas want. They want some stability in their government, and they want to be able to know that their government is working for them and not trying to do things that are going to be against their ability to provide for their families.